Back in 1962, there was two kiters. You and Gary Siskar.
It was amazing.
It was you and a plastic bag.
Many years before I was born.
I know.
Gary and I were the first people to ever kiteboard, ever.
You know, people think it was like Benjamin Franklin towing across the lake.
Benjamin Siskar.
Benjamin
Siskar. That was what they called him back in the day.
That's in the history books, folks. Don't let anybody else tell you anything different about the kiting industry.
And then we revived it in the late 70s.
I heard
the
hippie era. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. You were a little smoky back then.
Back then?
Back then, now. You didn't hear it from me. This is a legalized state, isn't
Oregon.
it? Yeah. Speaking of legalized stuff, this is pretty legit.
So what we have behind us here, Alexis, is our Hippy Stix line of boards. It is basically the evolution of kiteboards. So, you know, people remember the mutants from back in the day. You know, the industry has gone into people riding surfboards more, but a lot of times in conditions that aren't really quite warranting that long rail line and that big thick board. You know, and then obviously everybody loves riding twin tips. It's been around in kiteboarding from the beginning, you know, has that sort of symmetrical roots of being able to go both directions. That's something in our sport that's maybe different from other board sports, is you sort of have to ride switch, you know, part of the time. Yet most people still have that dominant side that they favor. You know, so Gary Siskar, our brand manager at Liquid Force, and I were riding here in the gorge a lot, and the rivers swell, which isn't true waves, you know, it's sort of more of like that snowboardy type, read the terrain and smack a section and find your way to the next section, much like when you're reading a mountain. You know, and we just had this idea where we wanted to have that same sensation of like the newer directional kind of powder snowboards we'd been riding and bring that to the water. So what we did was we took our drive kiteboard tool and we wanted to pull something out of it that had more of a directional type idea or concept behind it. So this is the Moon Patrol, which comes in a 146. It does have, you know, a true nose and tail. So you can see in this board that it is a directional shape by its outline. It also has a bit of a directional rocker. So you can see a bit more flip in the nose and a bit more flattened out tail. Allows you to really put, you know, a lot of pressure into the carving toe side or heel side turns without burying the nose, yet still has enough rocker that when you ride switch and, you know, that 50% of your kiteboarding when you're going back upwind or whatever it is, the board still rides great in the opposite direction. But it's really sort of situated for all of your, you know, pressure into those turns or your big jumps and everything to be on your strong side. You know, so I'm a goofy footed rider. I would set this up goofy footed. We did a little bit where on this particular board, we tapered the outline a bit so it has a directional outline, directional rocker, and a directional shape. And the stance itself is set back a bit. We also give 4 inserts versus 3. Just gives a little bit more freedom. You can still center the stance if you would like to have that more traditional twin tip feel. Or you can set it back, get creative, go super narrow, super wide, whatever you're feeling, you know, for the session that you want to have. So the Moon Patrol is our more sort of surf-inspired line. Nice moon tail, nice drawn-out nose that you really can push as hard as you want into that thing and not bury the nose like you would on a twin tip. And you know, it just creates a ton of fun. Really, anybody who gets on these boards just smiles every time they're on the water. They get off it loving the board. So that's the Moon Patrol. Also within the Hippy Stix line behind me here, we have the Spacecraft, and these were our first 2 boards that we introduced into this line. This shares some of the same characteristics, that directional rocker we're talking about with a more flipped up tip, slightly flattened out tail. However, this one has a symmetrical outline. It is set back to match the stance. Still has that 4-pack insert, slightly set back stance so you can have more nose, less tail. And this is a little bit more of the sort of twin tip inspired Hippy Stix in the line, right? So the guys coming off of riding boots, riding a twin tip all the time, they would tend to gravitate towards this a bit more. And then, you know, you're a surf rider, surfer at heart, much like myself, might gravitate more towards the Moon Patrol. You know, so that's sort of our differentiation within the line. These all have a subtle but effective single concave bottom. And then the boards come, which can be set up like this one right here, which is a set of 4-0 fins. So that's 4 4-centimeter fins. Or you can set them up as we have on the Moon Patrol here, which is the way I prefer to ride them. 4 O's in the front and 5 centimeters in the back, so you get a little bit more bite. So that means your board comes with 6 fins. Allows you the freedom to try it, set it up however you want. You want to get a little trippy, ride 2s, 5s on your heel side edge, you can do whatever you like in that sense. But it just gives you that freedom to sort of customize the board for however you want to ride it. And again, they're just all about fun when you're on the water.
So you're feeling like these boards are like the boards on the mountain in the snow.
Yeah, it gives you that same sort of sensation. You know, I love riding a twin tip. I also love riding a surfboard. But when I'm out there on my surfboard, sometimes I wish I could just hit a kicker, throw a big jump, or, you know, if I'm on my twin tip, maybe I want to carve a hard turn, but I stuff the nose. You know, you're riding in little beach break, wind swell, and you come off like a really hard top turn. Next thing you know, you bury the nose, go over the handlebars, and you're crashing in the whitewater, right? This little bit of flip in the nose and this nice drawn out outline really gives you that sort of surfy, flowy feel. But you have all the benefits of a twin tip. You want to unhook and do handle passes, it's right there. You want to throw big kite loops off of a kicker that's coming up at you, it's right there. But yet you still have that sort of connected feel of being able to link turns and get that sort of carvy, surfy feel, much like snowboarders that go to the mountain and sort of emulate surfing when they're on the mountain. This gives you that same sort of sensation when you're on the water. And again, like I mentioned, it is what we believe is like an evolution of the kiteboard or the evolution of the twin tip, and a great combination of sort of 2 different styles where you can do it all at once.
Nice. Now we've got some other beautiful looking boards over here.
Yeah,
You've got the Legend and what is that? Lunar.
So the Legacy is here sort of on purpose. The Lunar Lander, which is our newest board in the Hippy Stix line, actually comes out of the Legacy tool. So this is my pro model that Jimmy Redmond and I shaped and you know, really refined over the years of working together. And what we wanted to do is add a little bit more sort of tech and performance to the Hippy Stix line. So, you know, within the Legacy here, it's got some beautiful bottom contours. It's got a little bit of a, you can see this sort of
Spine.
Yeah, it's a bit of a carbon reinforcement strip here. So what that does is allows the board to be thin, but add sort of rigidity through the center. It's got a nice double concave in the center, and then these sort of progressive rail concaves to add some bite. And then you can see this pattern within the bottom. That's pretty common in surfboards these days and a lot of other you know, water boards, is this vector net, which is a carbon weave within fiberglass. So a little bit less expensive than full fiberglass. Still adds some rigidity and life to the board, but it doesn't have this sort of negative nature of carbon where it's very stiff and rigid. So you still get that nice smooth flex. So what we did with the Lunar Lander is we took that same tool and we made a directional shape. So you can see nice full nose, big split V-tail, again sort of pulling for our inspiration from the swallowtail snowboards that are out there, or nice swallowtail fish, you know, in the surfboard world. Again, this one's set up how I like to ride them, which is the 4 cm fins in the front, the 5s in the rear. And then you can see on the bottom here that vector net full bottom layup with, it's a little hidden under this graphic, but you can see it better at the back here. That nice carbon reinforcement that runs sort of from just in front of your front foot to just behind your back foot, but fades out towards the tips, allowing the board to sort of flex independently and really let this sort of split tip give you that forgiveness and push through a turn where it'll hold versus wanting to skip, you know, that some twin tips will when they get overpowered. And the Lunar Lander just sort of, you know, took the basic single concave of the Moon Patrol and the Spacecraft and just allowed us to add some more tech. So you can see this is a full CNC'd wood core. We've got Liquid Force's nice thumb rails, which help add some stiffness in between your feet again, but then fading out and letting those tips flex really nicely. And this board's just, again, all these boards scream fun. You know, when you want to get out there and just take whatever the conditions throw at you, they'll do it all. They'll do them all well. Set them up to your sort of desired strong side, and just go out and have a blast.
Now, I know we didn't get all of the real specifics of the boards. Again, people talk about tech. You know, does it have channels, the weight, all the different sizes, all that? Where can they find that info?
So you can go to liquidforcekites.com for all of that info. As far as some of the tech on these, we did keep them for more of that hand-shaped surfboard feel. So you won't see any really defined channels. Everything's very flowy for that really good water flow that you have on like a surfboard. And, you know, single concaves on the Moon Patrol and Spacecraft, double concave with progressive rail concaves on the Lunar Lander. But go check out liquidforcekites.com, and if you can, I urge everybody to get on a Hippy Stick. You will smile for days and love every minute of it.
Well, thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you, Alexis.